Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
Bill Maher has delivered a scathing critique of New York politician Zohran Mamdani that's captured national attention. The late-night host systematically dismantled Mamdani's progressive agenda, suggesting that his potential victory could serve as the perfect campaign advertisement for conservative candidates. Maher's commentary wasn't gentle political sparring. It was sharp, unrelenting, and delivered with his signature wit. This is political theater at its finest, and you won't want to miss what happens next.
Who's the most popular politician on the left?
AOC? I don't know.
One of, but who's Bernie? Bernie is
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie is. I mean, he's not a capitalist.
No, he's not, and he's also not president.
He's not. But
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No, but he will. Trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people. They boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
Maher's assessment carries weight. The Republican Party doesn't need to manufacture fear around Zohran Mamdani. His own rhetoric provides all the ammunition they need. As Mamdani gains momentum toward a potential New York mayoral victory, political observers warn that his success could become a strategic windfall for the GOP. His candidacy represents what conservatives characterize as the Democratic Party's drift into ideological extremism. While Mamdani identifies as a democratic socialist, this label only resonates with his core supporters. Maher remains unconvinced. To him, Mamdani represents the kind of idealistic left-wing politics that may inspire progressive circles, but simultaneously hands Republicans perfectly crafted talking points for their campaigns.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah.
The proposals sound appealing on the surface. Utopian promises wrapped in compassionate rhetoric that generate applause in progressive venues. But examine these ideas more closely, and a different picture emerges. The fantasy begins to fracture, revealing something more troubling underneath. While idealists may embrace these visions, those who've witnessed the historical trajectory of socialist experiments recognize a familiar pattern. This feels less like innovative policy and more like history repeating itself, repackaged as progressive change and renewed hope.
I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
Socialist experiments have collapsed so consistently throughout history that most informed observers approach the ideology with extreme caution, like touching a hot stove they've been burned by before. Yet younger generations, captivated by appealing promises of equity and universal prosperity, remain susceptible to these ideas. The fundamental problem isn't simply human selfishness, it's rooted in how human motivation actually functions. People excel when challenged, when incentivized, when their creativity and effort produce meaningful results, remove competition, and eliminate differentiated rewards, and entire systems begin to malfunction. Bureaucracies expand, inefficiency proliferates, and decay sets in. Eventually, systems designed to create equality instead generate widespread frustration and scarcity. History has demonstrated this pattern repeatedly. When government assumes control over all economic functions, the entire apparatus eventually collapses under its own weight. Mamdani's platform, filled with state-provided services and centralized control, may appear compassionate on campaign materials but proves unworkable in practice. Without space for entrepreneurship, trade, and individual aspiration, societal progress grinds to a halt. Ultimately, everyone achieves equality, but it's equality and disappointment rather than prosperity. Britain provides a cautionary tale. Post-war Britain embraced socialist principles, promising fairness, wealth distribution, and opportunity for all citizens. The vision appeared bold and humane, yet as years passed, the promise dimmed. Once thriving industries, nationalized by the state, became strangled by bureaucratic regulations, production plummeted, costs skyrocketed, and economic growth stalled. The equality so passionately pursued didn't elevate the working class. It dragged nearly everyone downward. By the 1970s, Britain earned the unfortunate title of the sick man of Europe. Only when Margaret Thatcher implemented market-oriented reforms did the nation begin recovering from decades of stagnation.
When the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both.
Maher fears that Zohran Mamdani could become a political trap for the Democratic Party, the kind that pulls the entire party away from the political center and toward electoral disaster. He understands that when Democrats shift too far left, they lose moderate voters who determine election outcomes. Many voters supported Donald Trump precisely because they perceive progressive policies as overreach, particularly regarding controversial cultural issues like youth gender-affirming care. Yet Mamdani appears prepared to double down on exactly these contentious topics. Critics point to his significant fundraising efforts, supporting policies connected to these debates, essentially re-engaging with one of America's most emotionally volatile political battles. For pragmatic Democrats who prioritize electability over ideological purity, Mamdani's approach isn't courageous. It's catastrophic. It provides Republicans with a ready-made argument that the left has abandoned common sense, practical governance, and the concerns of ordinary American voters.
Beyond saying that we're going to make this a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA plus New Yorkers, beyond saying that we're going to establish an office of LGBTQIA plus affairs, is also that we're going to provide $65 million in funding for gender-affirming care, the same amount of funding that the federal government threatened to pull out from local providers for that kind of work.
There's no way to soften this reality. Trump doesn't need to portray Mamdani as a threatening figure. Mamdani creates that narrative himself through his own policy proposals. He's advocated for government-operated grocery stores and free public transportation throughout the city, envisioning a society where the state controls substantial aspects of daily life. While he labels himself a democratic socialist, his rhetoric and policy positions align remarkably closely with far-left political ideology. Regardless of his intentions, his platform fits seamlessly into the narrative that Democrats are moving toward full socialism. When something looks, acts, and sounds like a duck, well, the conclusion becomes obvious.
He has attacked you personally and publicly like this.
He's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist, man. This is a communist.
I don't like to see a communist become mayor, I will tell you that.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. We should never be in a position where we're talking about a communist.
We're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. I think if a communist takes over New York City, I think that's a gift to the Republican Party.
This vision of democratic socialism, it's one that often comes back to what Martin Luther King said decades ago. A vision of, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. Here in New York City, wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, 1 in 4 are in poverty. 500,000 kids go to sleep hungry every night. It's untenable to live with this kind of a divide. We have to actually have a politics that puts working people first.
Something revealing happens when you examine Mamdani's proposals more carefully. His pitch may sound fresh and innovative to some audiences, but it's essentially recycled political rhetoric from previous generations, the same lofty promises of fairness, equal opportunity, and shared prosperity, all delivered in emotionally stirring language and supported by selectively chosen statistics designed to inspire belief. But history teaches a consistent lesson. Once the excitement fades and political power consolidates, the romantic vision cracks apart. Policies emerge that restrict achievement and suppress entrepreneurial energy. This isn't the direction New York needs, nor America. American prosperity was built on freedom, freedom to create, compete, innovate, and pursue opportunity, not on centrally managed ambitions and enforced uniformity. Betting against the fundamental principles that generated American success has never ended well. If history could speak directly to this moment, it would be warning that the outcome won't be different this time. And Maher, ever the realist beneath his comedic persona, sees this trajectory clearly from the beginning.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Well, it wasn't so much his aunt as his dad's cousin, but, semantics. Douglas, is he ready to lead?
No, in absolutely no way is he ready to lead, and that was just another reminder of it. This is such a self-involved little narcissist with so little going for him that he even decides to turn the memory of 9/11 and the 3,000 Americans that day into a story about his aunt and the subway. It's interesting, like so many things that this smarmy candidate does, he makes it about himself and it all turns out to be untrue anyway. It seems to the extent that he had any such aunt in question, she wasn't in New York at the time, and in any case, didn't wear the headscarf.
When examined closely, that compelling origin story surrounding Zohran Mamdani loses much of its luster.
Guy he just brought up, that's who you're all going to have to answer for. So I got to get your answer. This is Mamdani, if you've been not following the news. He won the Democratic primary in New York, so he is certainly likely to be the next mayor. We don't know. I mean, there's a lot of opposition because we've never had someone this radical. Some of the things he says, prisons were obsolete. What purpose do they serve? I could think of a couple. The NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. I think most people think cops are protecting their public safety, even though there's issues and problems with the police department. Do you like capitalism? No. We've never had a guy quite like this. You know, he quotes Marxist, each according to their need. I mean, that's straight up communism. Whether you call it the abolition of private property, you call it housing guarantees, it's preferable to what is going on right now.
Yet in deeply democratic New York, conventional rules don't always apply. Party loyalty.
I mean, just the phrase abolition of private property, not something we usually hear in America.
There's always a villain. There's always, people, they always try to create a villain, is my point. They always try to create some boogeyman or boogie. No. If it wasn't this one, quotes. It was going to be somebody else.
I'm not creating anything.
I'm not defending the policies. There are plenty of things that I disagree with there and that I don't come down on.
You're going to have to answer everything like this. They're going to ask every single Democratic politician.
But the point being, we see this every cycle. I've now been doing this long enough to know that every single cycle, there's some, contrived villain or boogeyman. And if it wasn't this one,
he's not contrived. He's going to be the mayor of New York.
The thing that I find the most appalling, which is that he defends the expression globalize the Intifada.
Yes, correct.
Which explicitly means, and I don't want to hear anyone deny this, everything that the crazy far right alleged about Barack Obama, wasn't born in America, right. Islamist, socialist, right. Anti-Semite, hates America. It's all true about this guy. Right. Okay? It is all true about this guy. And the fact that this man is on the verge of becoming the mayor of the second largest Jewish city in the world is very frightening. And I'm actually really disappointed that more Democrats have either, are not coming out and condemning him and saying we're not going to endorse this guy because he is beyond the pale.
Frequently trumps factual scrutiny, and he appears positioned to win office despite significant questions about his narrative authenticity. The real question isn't whether he'll win.
It seems to me that there are two pillars that this country is founded on. One is democracy, and one is capitalism, free markets. And it seems like one party wants to get rid of one, and the other party wants to get rid of the other, right? The Republicans are not that, democracy is just not number one on their list. It just isn't. It isn't. It's behind Christianity and a few other things. And the Democrats, I mean, I read these 74% are for democratic socialism. Only 16% favor capitalism.
But rather what happens when campaign rhetoric confronts the harsh realities of governing one of the planet's most complex cities. Slogans are effortless. Actually, managing New York is an entirely different challenge. Observing how Mamdani handles that responsibility will prove instructive. His political rise isn't a tremendous victory for progressive values. It reads more accurately as a warning sign. Beneath the polished speeches and appealing socialist promises lies a political philosophy that history has consistently rejected. Maher's concerns are justified. If Mamdani steers New York down this ideological path, the consequences won't remain confined to city government. It could fundamentally reshape how voters perceive the entire Democratic Party.
Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars? If we don't, I mean, where are the Democrats going with this? If Mamdani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast, I don't know if that's great politically for that party.
New York is New York. It's definitely it's the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Do you think, let's say, on the seize the means of production, do you think that the mayor, that one person, if he is a democratic socialist, do you think that he would have the power and influence to be able to, like, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time.